Good afternoon and evening, everybody. Welcome to Watch Me Viz for Makeover Monday, week 44. This week is another Viz 5 initiative, sorry about that, and it's looking at the digital gender gap. So we're going to be looking at the difference between internet access between men and women, and also mobile phone access. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. And if you have any questions along the way, feel free to post them in the chat. There is a slight delay of a few seconds, so I might not see them right away, but I'll get to them as soon as I can. And make sure you also subscribe to the channel so you can see the latest videos. There is a Makeover Monday Viz review coming up on Wednesday, run by Eva and Charlie. And of course, there's weekly tips. And last week, I think I posted a couple extra tips as well. So yeah, so subscribe, share it with other people you think might be interested, and maybe next week bring somebody else along to this. It's fun for me to interact with other people while we do this. So so the data set we're looking at this week is the digital gender gap. The first thing I'm going to do is just look at the visualization and maybe give it a quick critique. So I guess the top table there. So what does the gender gap in internet access look like? I probably wouldn't use look like because we're not actually looking at anything. I would probably use just something like the gender gap in internet access and percent difference. Okay, so it looks like it's just a really, really long table and sorted alphabetically. Now, sorting it alphabetically is fine if you want to be able to just look up a country because it's easier to find a country alphabetically. And it looks like it's just a simple diverging bar chart. Yeah, nothing particularly wrong with that. And then it has the value as well. Okay, it looks like there's kind of lots of wasted space. It's super wide, things like that. Okay, and then down in the map, yeah, so this is where it can be really tempting to create a map because you have a country field. If you look at Europe, for example, it's impossible to read. The countries are much smaller. The data gets distorted by the size of the country. So it's very hard to compare, let's say, Luxembourg to Brazil. So yeah, I would definitely avoid filled maps for the world. They're very, very hard to read and interpret. So I know some of you will probably ask me to create a map while we're doing this, but I'm not going to because they're not effective enough. Now, this map in particular, it looks like it's got color-coded by something. It looks like blue and orange, which I assume are going to mean the same as blue and orange above, but I don't know what means what because we have, for example, in the table at the top, we see Argentina is a -6 in blue, and Australia is a positive 2% in orange. But I don't know which one of those is male, which one of those is female, because that information isn't anywhere. Now I'm assuming that the map goes by that same color palette. And then it has a shading on it that looks like most things are gray because they're close to the center. Now the issue I have with this is if you look at, for example, let's say let me look at for a -2 here. I'm sorry if I don't know the country here. That's really terrible of me, but there's a -2% kind of right below Russia there. And that -2% is pretty blue, whereas the 2% in Australia is rather gray, meaning it's kind of in the middle. So it looks like they've chosen to use the full extent of the color palette, which makes this look a bit misleading as well. Okay, so let me close that and go back over to the data set, and let's look at the article that was posted. Okay, so what are we looking at here? So this is the Inclusive Internet Index 2020. The overall index score based on the, availability is green, affordability is this kind of red. Okay, so it's looking at a series of rankings. Oh, this is pretty cool. So if I select that, what happens? Overall rank, breakdown. Okay, overall rank. Okay, so this is kind of showing us each of these. What happens when I click on these dots? Okay, nothing. Sort by name. Okay, so this allows you to sort by name. Sort by ranking. Okay. And it looks like the dotted line connects up the ranking here. Now, we also don't know what these values are because when we hover over them, it just says like Sweden is first overall, but New Zealand, etc. But that's not particularly useful because I have to go to each of these individually to see. Yeah, I mean the animation's pretty cool, but I think that's probably about it. All right, so let's get stuck in here. The data set, if I scroll down a bit, is, let's see, so we've got country, number of number of households with internet, the gap in internet, the gender gap in internet access, the gender gap in mobile access. Okay, so this is impossible to read because we don't know what the difference is. It doesn't say female versus male or anything like that. So, okay. Source article provided by Opera. Okay, so there should be according to that, there should be, okay, so okay, here we go. So maybe this tells us then. So this source article, I just need to understand when it says gender gap, does that mean, is it comparing females to males or males to females? So hopefully this loads up at some point. Oh, and I made cookies last night. And Eva said that they're the best ones I've ever made. Chocolate chip. They're quite delicious. I actually have a plate full sitting here next to me, and I might just have to eat them all while I wait for this this PDF to turn up. Okay, let me see if I can just download it instead. Maybe that'll be quicker. Okay, so let me close that. Okay, digital gender gap, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Okay, about the data. The data explores the gender gap using both calculation. Positive values indicate that, so right here, positive data indicates that male access exceeds female access, while negative values indicate that female access is greater. Okay, so if I go back to the image, so in Argentina, female access is greater than male access. This is really confusing. Let's see here. In addition, the data explores a percentage of households with internet access defined as by a computer. Okay. So a negative number means female is greater. Okay, and then okay, so we're just gonna have to take that at its word. Okay, so I've gone ahead and connected to the data here. I'm gonna go to the metadata view because I'm just gonna go ahead and rename the fields here. I would normally just click on the little triangle and rename it here, but I don't have any idea what the name is, so I just switched to this metadata view. So country is fine. Internet users percent. So this is, if I go back here, percentage of households with internet access at home. Okay. So this is percent of households with internet access. And this is gender gap internet access. And then this one would be gender gap mobile phone access. Okay, very good. And I'm not sure, actually, let me go back to edit my data source. I'm going to join this to another data source. So I've actually posted this data source on data.world, and I will, in the notes for this viz, after it's published and everything, I'll go ahead and include a link to this data set. but it includes the country 2 and 3 digit ISO codes, the numbers, what region and subregion it belongs to. It can be a really useful data set. So I'm going to go ahead and join to that data set. So let me add, let's see, more. And I want to go to, I think it's here. Yep. And I'm going to just drag it. Oh, which one is which here? So let's geo. It looks like there's 2 sheets here. Oh, here we go. Info, and then geo. Oh, okay. So it looks like this actually also has latitudes and longitudes. Oh, good thing I didn't know that. But all I need to do is connect to the info. And I want to set up this relationship. Come on. I want to go country to country, performance options, many to many. So I'm going to go 1 to 1. That's basically just like a join. Okay, and then if I go back here, or actually if I go to my sheet, I should now see all these other codes. Now, I'm going to keep those. The country code number I don't need. The second country I don't need. This I don't need. These 2 I don't need. I'm just going through and getting rid of the fields that are unnecessary right now. Okay, so region code I don't need, so hide. So I'm going to go ahead and just bring the region and country into the view. And why do I have null here? Okay, and actually I don't want to do that. I just want to I want to verify that this table here. So this is gender gap in internet access. Okay, so if I put that here, we see Australia is at 2%. It's 2%, and Argentina is at -6%. Okay, so good. Okay, we can verify that. So what I'm going to do, I know I need to compare, or this is simply, I could just kind of sort this and maybe see which ones are above or below. This tells me that, for example, these are all 0. So these here, it looks like, so how many is that? That's 15 out of 100, so 15% of the countries in this data set, women have more internet access than men. That's internet access. Let's see what it is for mobile phone. And let's sort that. And for mobile phones, it is, let's see what we have here. It's 17. Okay, so slightly more for internet access versus mobile phone. Okay, so I want to compare these 2 metrics. So I'm going to actually just drag them on top of each other. And we see we get a side-by-side bars. And I'm going to also copy measure names onto the color shelf. Okay, so now we can see both of them together. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and flip the chart because I think it'll be a bit easier for me to look at. Not really. Okay, so that's not very useful. So let me duplicate that sheet. I'm going to flip it back the other way. And I'm going to take measure names and just move it to detail. Okay, so I could now, so what I'm looking at now, they're stacked on top of each other. So I want to go to analysis, stack marks, and turn them off. And if you were here last week for the one where I did time, you're going to see a lot of these similar kind of charts. Okay, let's see. But now we need to put that on, we need to put measure names on size as well. So now this allows us to compare internet access versus mobile phone access, and we could see kind of the difference between the 2. Okay, we could see some of them go, so for example in the Philippines, 14% more women than men have internet access, but for mobile phones it's the opposite, or men have more access than women. Okay, so that's one view. Let me duplicate that. I'm going to go ahead and take, let's just take that off color for now. I'm going to duplicate my measure values field, but on this one I'm going to make it a line, and I'm going to connect it by measure names. And now I get these little lines in between. I'm going to go to my first one and make it a circle. And now if I make this a dual axis chart, and then I'm going to synchronize, and let me go ahead and move the line to the back, you'll see that I get like a little barbell chart. And I could maybe color code that barbell by whether, which one's higher. So if I wanted to do that, I could say something like, let's say internet, more internet access than mobile phone access. I know it's a long name, and I'm just going to say the sum of the internet access is greater than the sum of the mobile phone access. And I'm going to go to my line, and it's a Boolean. You'll see it's a true false. So you'll see it's a little Boolean there. And I'm going to drag that field onto my color shelf, and I get a single color that tells me true or false. So what I could do here is if the blue is bigger, so I'm going to switch these colors around. I'm going to make the true blue and the orange and the false orange. And now this tells me, depending on the color of the bar, it tells me which one's higher. So for example, if I click on mobile phone access, you can see Iran has higher mobile phone access for women than it does internet access. Okay, so that's one way you could maybe look at it. So this is our barbell. Another thing we could do though is maybe we want to sort that. So I'm going to just duplicate that Boolean field I created, and I'm just going to call this a difference in internet. Let's see, I'll call it internet versus mobile phone access. And I'm just going to do internet minus the sum of mobile phone, so same two fields. But now that I have that, I can sort my countries. Let's see, I want to do descending by the difference, mobile internet versus mobile phone, and there we go. So the wider the bar, the bigger the difference between internet access and mobile phone access, and they're sorted that way. So at the bottom, you're going to see the orange bars. Okay, so let's duplicate that, and I'm just going to turn this into like a peas in the pod chart. I think I did this one last week as well. It's the same thing as barbell. I'm just going to make the lines a bit bigger so they surround the circles. Maybe not quite that big. You get the idea here. And then what I need to do is I need to go to the circle shelf and just put a border on there. Not particularly great. What I might do for this example is maybe on my color for my line, I could maybe reduce the opacity so I could see kind of a light blue and then a light orange. So that's another way to do it. So this is our peas in a pod. I don't know what kind of chart to call this, but they kind of look like peas in a pod to me. Okay, what else could we do? We could do maybe, if I go back to this one and duplicate it again, I'm going to create a slope graph. And to make this a slope graph, what I want to do is, well, first off, I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to change it to a line. Take and move measure names to the path shelf. Let's see, and then I want country on detail. Let's see, what did I mess up here? Measure names here. Yeah, there we go. So if I make it a bit wider, yeah, and now I could take that true false and maybe put that on color, and I could see which ones have higher mobile phone access than internet access or vice versa. So what I could do is, I'm not going to worry about that yet. Okay, so in total we have, how many oranges are there? Let me just do keep only. I'm just trying to count up those. So that would be 56 marks. So this should be 28 countries. Yeah. So 28 countries have more. I'm just going to make a note here. Maybe I'll show my caption. So 28 countries. In 28 countries, women have more mobile phone access than internet access. And then, so that would be, so 100 minus 28 in 72 countries. It's the opposite. Actually, let me just write it. Women have more internet access than mobile phone access. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Do women have more mobile phone access compared to men? Women. Yeah, so this actually isn't, this is really a terribly worded analysis here, because this is showing, yeah, I'm not wording this right, because what each of these metrics tells me is the difference between the men and the women. So it's really women have more mobile phone access compared to men than internet access. And then it's the other way around. So compared to men, there we go. Okay, that makes more sense now. It's a subtlety, but it's an important one. And I just like putting that in my caption just so I can see kind of what my notes here. Okay, and it's time for a cookie break. What else could we do here? 1 second. Michael, yeah. I'm on the live stream. What? You're being quite loud. I'm on the computer. Sorry. Just my son having cereal at 5 o'clock. So I'm going to go back to my chart chooser here, and I want to see if there's any charts that I could be missing here. And I'll post links to this as well. So I want to compare categories. So bar, grouped bar, diverging bar. We did these, deviation, floating bar. This is kind of like our peas in the pod. I think I did this one last week as well. I could duplicate this barbell, and instead of these being circles, I can make them Gantt bars. And then instead of this being measured, let's see, we want that to be measure names. No, we don't actually want the second measure names. We want this to be the difference, mobile phone. So we need to make that continuous. And if I put that on size, I need to just show one of these. So internet, there we go. Let's see if that's right. So here we've got 13% and 61%, and 61%, and then 30. Okay, yeah, so this shows the difference now. And I could put that on color. And then if I scroll down, you'll see the bars get wider as we go down. So same thing as the barbell, just done as a Gantt bar as well. So they're calling that a, what they call that here, floating bar chart. That's not too bad, but what mean, you know, you could always just filter it by region maybe, and let's say we want to look at maybe Africa, and you can see kind of the differences there. So that's another way to kind of look at the data. Okay, panel, some of these don't apply. X, Y, okay, we did the dumbbell, the bullet graph we don't want to do. I mean, if we were going to do a bullet graph, let's see, what would that do? So I'm going to, let me duplicate this sheet. And what I would do if I'm going to do a bullet graph is I would take the internet access and then move the gender gap to the detail shelf and do an average line for each cell. Okay, I think I did that wrong. Okay, and then I need to edit that and make it my mobile phone axis. And there we go. So now let me uncheck that. So now we have our little reference lines here. Let me actually edit those or format them. I'm going to make them maybe all the way dark, maybe a bit thicker. And then I could put our little color thing on there again. So maybe put that on color. And now we can see that as well. We could sort these by the gap. We want to do it by, or the difference between the two. And there we go. So that's not particularly useful. Yeah, I don't like that one. But what do we call that one? That is it's not really a bullet graph. It's, let's call it a bar graph versus reference line. All right. So Mohul Modi, so back over here to the slope graph. Is that analysis on a slope graph correct? It is just giving a comparison between the internet. It's not comparison. It's not comparing between men and women. That's correct. But it's comparing the difference between men and women. So the numbers that we see here, like for example, if I hover over Philippines, and it's a minus 14%, that means 14% more women have internet access than men. Whereas on the other side, we see that 12% more men, let's see, so this is 12%, so this would be 12% more men have mobile phone access than women. Yeah, I mean, it's not a very good analysis, I would agree, but it's definitely not comparing internet access to mobile phone access. That is not what this is showing. So this is actually a view that is not very good. Okay, so let me go back over here. Waterfall, parallel coordinates. All right. Let's see what else we have here. Let's see. Okay, distribution. Distribution could be interesting. I wonder if we did maybe something like a dot matrix. Let's see. So what that would mean is, let's say that we want to look at the percent of, so let's say we want that to be in the columns, and then we want we want this to be, let's create bins on this, and let's say we want to go so that's every 0.5%, so let's do that's every 5%. Let's just start with every 5%. Put that onto the rows, and if I put country on the rows, or sorry, no, country on detail, I'll get a dot for each one of these. So that's not, that's not particularly useful. Why am I getting, let's see, I need to show the highlighter. And if I highlight Australia, so I'm seeing Australia in every one of these. That's not right. I shouldn't see Australia in every bin. Each country should only be showing up one time. I don't get that. Okay, let me try it this way then. Let me do, oh, no, I think that was right. But this needs to be a count distinct of country. There we go. So this is telling me how many countries have, so the ones on the left-hand side, this means more women have more mobile phone access than men, and over here is the other side, and then the zeros are between 0 and 5, so some of them might be 0, some of them might be 5%. It's kind of hard to, so both metrics can be positive, that's correct. All right. Okay, so that's, so this is, I'm just going to call this internet access bins. I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to do it with mobile phone access. Let's see, create bins, and let's do 0.5 again. And this time I'm going to put that up here instead. And we can see kind of a shift here between the two. So, okay. It still doesn't tell me a whole lot. All right. Let's see. So that's our histogram. Could we do a box plot? Possibly. Let's see what a box plot looks like. So if I do something like internet access and put country onto detail, make this a circle, and I'm going to make it a bit bigger so we can see it a bit better, and reduce the size of my circles. Okay, and then if I put a box plot on, you'll see we've got a few outliers here. So that's, and I could then maybe put the, where is it here, mobile phone axis here. Now we can see the distribution again. So let's do analytics, box plot for each cell. Okay, there we go. So we've got only one outlier for internet access, that's Ethiopia. So 30% more women have mobile phone access than men. Oh, sorry, two. We've got Pakistan as well. So Pakistan's an outlier for both. So women have much more, no, this is men, sorry, men is the positive number. So in Pakistan, significantly more men have internet access and mobile phone access than women. Wow, that's not good. India, Bangladesh, okay, right. Okay, I could maybe take this, okay, I think what I'm gonna do, this is maybe think about maybe just a rank chart. So let me, if I take my slope graph, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to change each of these to a rank. So rank, and then we want to rank those by country, and then quick table calc rank by country. Let me get rid of the color. Okay, so now we need to flip this around. And what this is going to tell me is, actually I'm going to leave it like, so a negative number. So, so the numbers that are at the top, that would mean women have more internet access than men. So let me show the highlighter. So if I take, for example, let's see, we still don't know actually what the value is, but if I, okay, Austria. Yeah, so this is another one that's kind of hard to tell what it's doing. What I'm trying to show is where does this rank amongst other countries, but I would need to put the measure values onto detail as well. So if I look at, why isn't it on my tooltip? Oh, okay, oh, I see, yeah, I need to put them on from here. Okay. So the Philippines is ranked the highest in its, or the, yeah, this is another one. I can kind of understand it, but it's very hard to read. So this would be our ranked slope graph. You know, my general kind of rule of thumb is if I create a graph and it's very hard for me to explain what the graph is saying, then I probably won't use it because it's going to be too hard for the audience to understand. So I can kind of get this in my head, but it's way too difficult for me to explain to other people. Okay, what else can we look at here? Let me go back. Ridge plot. Okay, so I think that's probably it from this site. Geo's distribution. I mean, we can always do big numbers. Yeah, that's exact values. So let's look at another option here. Chart chooser. Okay, come on. Okay, fan chart, target lines, we did that. calendars. By the way, I did a video last week on how to make these tile grid maps. Deviations we did. Actually, mine was a tiled grid map, but with a line inside of it as well. Heat map, waffle, bar, line. Okay, I'm just looking at, okay, so we didn't do a scatter plot. So let's see what a scatter plot does. So scatter plot, I want to look at internet access versus mobile phone access, country on detail. And okay, so maybe we're on to something here. Okay, so we've now have kind of a quadrant chart. So, okay, I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, so if I put on reference lines, let's see if I do an average line for the table. What I want to do is I want to write a calculation that's going to give me these 4 colors here. So, oh, I need to turn off those recalculate. I hate those. So edit, turn off the recalculate. And then let's edit this one and turn off the recalculate. Come on. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to maybe like color code this quadrant versus this quadrant. So we want to create kind of like four sections. I'm going to show you maybe 2 ways to do that. So I should get 27 up here. So I'm going to create a calculated field. And I want to do, I'm just going to call this quadrant. And I'm going to say if the sum of the mobile phone axis is greater than the window average of the sum of the mobile phone axis. So this window average, this field right here, is equivalent to my my reference line here, the 0.0630. Let me see if I can do this, make it a bit bigger for you so we can read it a bit better. And the sum of gender gap, or internet access, sorry, is greater than the window average sum of the internet access. Oh, shoot. Then I'm just going to call it, what do I want to call this? I'm going to call it UR for upper right for now. I'll come up with a catchier name later. And then I want to copy that, else if. Oh God, I hate when Tableau does that. Like, why does it, when I hit paste, why does it put it in a new data source? God, that drives me insane. So now if this one is to the right and this one is to the left, then this is going to be, so let me do it like this so I can read it a bit better. Oh, and I lost my else if here. Okay, so this is saying, so if it's to the right and it's below, so then this would be my lower right. I probably should write this out, upper right. I'm just going to copy that. And then I want to do, if they're both less than, then that's going to be my lower left. Else, we're going to be upper left. And then end. Okay, so let's put that onto the color shelf, and we want to compute this using country. And we get 4 countries, or 4 quadrants. So yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to put my value on my computation, maybe make it a dashed line. Okay, and hit OK. And that puts my value at the bottom. Come on. I want to change the color. And then same thing with this one, so let's edit that. Put the value like that, make it black. Okay. But this one is kind of hard for me to see, this 13% here, so I'm going to format that. And I'm going to align it to the right, and then set it to a percentage. So 12.9%. And then same thing here. So I'm going to put this label at the top. So let's go top, numbers, percentage, 1 decimal. Okay, so now we could see which kind of quadrant they're in, and we could count the, so, you know, we could even, I mean, we don't have to count them, but we could just, yes, and now we know which ones are above and which ones are below. Okay, so that gets us that view. So this is our quadrant with table calc. And I'm going to duplicate that, and we're going to write them as level detail expressions now. So the problem now is on my table calcs, I can't right click on these fields. I don't see any edit alias option. So if I want to change the names of these, I have to go into the calculation. So I would have to say if it's on the upper right, instead of upper right, I could say, actually we probably, yeah, I actually don't even want to do it this way. I want to have them at 0. So if that is bigger than, okay, so forget it. We're not going to do it as, and that is greater than 0, because we actually want to refer to 0, not the average. So I've got that wrong. Okay, and I'm going to make these, I'm going to disaggregate these because there's only one number for each country. So, and I want to say if this is bigger than 0, oh crap. Let me see. All right, I'm going to write it like this. Might be a bit easier to understand. Hopefully it makes sense what I just said, because we don't, I'm going to change these reference lines to say 0 instead of comparing them to the average. The average doesn't make sense here. Zero. I'm just cleaning my calculation up to make it a bit easier to read. Okay, so get rid of my bracket there, hit OK. It's going to break that, but that's fine. Oh, something else is broken here. Oh, this should be, wait, that's right. I just need to get rid of the bracket. There we go. And then this is now a dimension, so I need to put that on the view. Okay, and then these should both actually be, this needs to be a, need to edit this, and I want to make it a constant instead. And the constant should be at 0. And I'm going to say no label. Because what we're actually comparing here is the men to the women, not to the average. So, okay, there we go. And then my colors are, something's not right here. Right, let me double check my calculation here. So, okay, so, nope, wrong one. Where's my quadrant? So that's greater than and greater than would be my upper right. So let me just click on that. That looks good. And then lower right would be all the oranges. And then lower left, it's probably because some of these probably need to be equals to. Let me just make all these equals to. Oh. What the hell? Okay, I think that fixed it. No, we still have one down here. So let me make all these. Okay, there we go. Now we're good. So lower right is going to be that, upper left, upper right. Okay, but now that this is the dimension, I could just edit the aliases here. So instead of going into the calculation, I can choose aliases. And I could edit the names here. So this is telling us, so the ones that are green are the ones where men, so out of these, so 74 countries out of the 74 out of the 100 countries, actually, I'm going to double check and make sure that I'm capturing all, because I did the relationship in Tableau instead of just a regular join. So I'm going to just double check and make sure there's 100 countries in here. Yeah, okay. Very good. And I can close this one as well. And close that one. Okay, so now this is telling me, right, and then I'm going to format both of these. Default properties, number format, percentage to 1 decimal. And I need to figure out, because I don't like how those are negative signs. So I think, yeah, let me just leave it like that for now. And I'm going to I think I'm going to stick with this scatter plot for my final viz here. So percentage 0 decimals. The problem is the pane. So percentage to 1 decimal. Yeah, so you see, this is where it's really stinky, because like I want to be able to format the tooltip with 1 decimal, but the axis with 0 decimals. So it's a real pain. So I have to like duplicate these fields, which is like really stupid, and then put those onto the tooltip. And then these 2 fields, my copies, I could default properties number format and make those 1 decimal. And now you can see that one in the tooltip. So format here. So let's see, wrong one. Let's format that as a percentage. So now my axes look right. And when I hover over a dot, you'll see some of them are 1 decimal and some of them are 2, because I made the copies to be 1 decimal. So what I would do here then is I would uncheck include in tooltip on these. And I'm going to uncheck quadrant include in tooltip as well, because that tells me, this now tells me the country, the axis, I keep saying axis. So actually, let me just say cancel for now. So I need to figure out a way to word this a bit better. Okay, so I could focus on maybe just these numbers down here. So we've got only 6 countries where women have both more mobile phone access and more internet access. So okay, so what I'm going to do then is I want to count those. So let's see, I want to say more mobile phone and internet. Let's see, more access to mobile phones and internet. And I'm just going to say if quadrant equals lower left, then return the country, and then I want to count those up. So I want to get just a single number that I can put in the title of the sheet. So I'm going to need to make it a level of detail expression so I can aggregate those a bit farther. Okay, so all right, let's see. So it looks like the stream is a bit messed up here. So let me stop this and let me start it again. And hopefully it picks back up here in a second. Okay, can you please let me know if you can still see the stream? Because what I'm going to do here is I'm going to count these up. So I'm just going to wrap them in a mustachio, and I just want to do count distinct on that. Now notice I didn't put a fixed or anything in here. Let me just do it like this. It might be easier to see. And what this means is just kind of give me the grand total. Ignore all of the dimensions. So it'd be something similar to doing fixed and then don't list any dimensions. So okay, Thank you, Marcin, for telling me everything's okay. So let's hit OK. And now if I put this in on my detail shelf and I show it in here, so what is it here? More access to that, and hit apply, you'll see we get 6. So I could do the same thing then for the upper right, and maybe our title then has both of those. So let me duplicate this. And this time I'm going to say, let's say, less access to mobile phones and internet. So I want to call this one upper right. And let's put that on detail. And now what I could say, let me just put I could say in only of 100 countries. Women had more access to both compared to men for both the internet and mobile phones in only 6 of 100 countries. However, I can now insert the, I could just switch this around. So let's see, let's make this 12 again. Men had more. Okay, I'm going to rewrite this. I'm going to get rid of the italics this time. However, men had more access compared to women for both in countries. Okay, so let's get rid of that. Maybe make that italics, and let's see what that looks like. So women had more access compared to men. More access compared to men for both the internet and mobile phones in only 6. Let's make that bold. Of 100 countries. However, men had more access compared to women across both technologies in, let's make that bold as well. Okay, I'm going to fix the colors on those. I kind of like the way that's turning out. But what I'm going to do now is I'm only going to highlight those 2 quadrants. So I'm going to make my lower right and my lower left, I'm going to make those both gray. So let's just make those gray. And then my lower left, I'm going to maybe make, let's maybe make that maybe red. And then I'm going to pick a different color. Let's see. Oh, maybe we should, let's see. Let's go with, we don't want to do that. Maybe let's put that kind of blue. Okay, so I need to get this color. Okay. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. Now I need to rearrange these so that the blue is in front of the grays. Okay. So I think that's good. And I think I'm going to try one more thing. So create calculated field. I want to set the axis on both of these to be the same. So let's go from minus 0.1, let's say let's see, this one. All right, to make the axis the same, I'm going to do something a bit different here. So so this one is 70 internet access. Okay, so I'm going to copy my internet access field here. And this is going to give me all the dots there. I'm going to actually take all of these fields off. Oops. And then I'm going to make these transparent, small. Turn off the tooltip. And now you'll see they're here somewhere. Let me get rid of that line. Oops, I didn't want to do that. And now if I make this a dual axis and synchronize, now my axes are the same on both sides. And I'm going to hide this one. So let's do this. Let's uncheck. And now if I hide that header, you'll see my axes are now the same on both sides. So a little trick there for you. And I want to make sure I move these to the front. And yep. Okay, so now those little dots, I mean, if you hover over one of them, you'll see it like right there, but you know, I'm doing it just for aesthetics. So let's format this a bit more. Get rid of our row and column dividers. And let's see. I want to, oh, my computer battery is running low. All right. Please use instead of however. However makes it sound as if it is better. But instead isn't the right word though. Yeah, I think you're right that however isn't the right word, but instead is not. Instead means it's a replacement. Let's see. No, I do want it to be however, because I want it to look like it's not fair. Because I don't think it's fair that men have more access to the internet than women. So I'm going to leave it as a however. Let's see. So I hope that makes sense why I'm saying that. I just think that internet access should be the same for both. So I could say maybe meanwhile, but I want it to be however, because I don't think, let's look at the definition of however. And let's see if it clears it up for us. Used to introduce a statement that contrasts with or seems to contradict something that has been said previously. Right. So that's what I want. I want it to be a contradiction. So yeah, I'm going to leave it as, yeah, I could say, yeah, I think you're right, Denise. So I could say men, comma, however. There we go, like that. I think that, is that what you mean, Denise? I believe it is. Okay, so let's see. So I'm going to change this title. Yeah, I think that's okay. But I need to somehow make it look like values that are below 0 need to be, I need to somehow make it obvious that there's that whole negative thing. So I could maybe, all right, so I'm going to stick it in the dashboard because I'm going to delete the LOD one. So let's stick this in a dashboard. And I'll leave it at 1000 by 800, what the heck. Floating, I'm going to stick this here, get rid of my color shelf, and then 0, 0, 1800. I'm going to add about 20 of padding. Okay. Right, so what I think I'm going to do here is I'm just going to annotate this area. Go away, annotate area. And I'm going to say women let's see. Axis, that meant. Maybe I'll try something like that. Make this. Let me see if how that's going to work out. So if I put that kind of down here in this corner, and I'm going to get rid of the shading, get rid of the line. Okay, maybe something like that. I could do it in a smaller font, maybe 8 point. Maybe women have less access than men. Okay, but now my scale is all messed up. I don't have my axes, ranges aren't the same anymore, so I need to either make it taller or wider. So why don't I, if I make it skinnier, what the heck? I'm just trying to get my kind of my scatter plot part pretty evenly. Okay. All right. Let's see. I'm going to make that a slightly smaller font. Maybe if I make this one a bigger font. Let's see what it looks like. It's 18. Yeah, I like that. Right. And then let's add our caption. Oops. I meant to, so dashboard, this needs, sorry, I need to change this object back to 1000. And I need to change my dashboard size to 900 by 800. There we go. So in my caption, I need to now put in my data source. And that's going to be, what's the data source? Let's see. Come on. Come on. Our data source is so let me just copy that. And I'm going to put that in here. Created by. Okay, there we go. All right, so just at 1 hour and 3 minutes. Hopefully you found that. Let's see, I thought there were countries where women had more access than men in the lower left quadrant. Let's see. Women have, oh, sorry, this should be women have more access than men. Sorry. That's completely backwards. Yeah, there we go. Women have more access than men. Thank you for that clarification. Yeah, okay. If we wanted to allow the user to find a specific country in the distribution, we'd be able to add a filter. Oh, that's a good point. I should allow them to find a country. So I'm going to actually just show a highlighter. And of course, Tableau puts it as, let's see, so let me find that here. And I'm just going to say, find a country. Thank you, that's a really good idea. And then I can maybe make that smaller. And I'll put that maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll stick it, where do I want to put it here? Okay, so why don't I, on the designer here, I'm going to maybe stick a border on it, a light gray border. And I'm going to add some padding. So let's do 10. But now I need to make it a bit bigger. And then I'm going to set the background to white. Okay, there we go. So maybe something like that. Thank you for that tip. So I want to do the Y position to that. And then 20. Okay, that should line it up perfectly. And then my height, I need to reduce a couple pixels. that's not going to quite work. Okay, good enough. I think that works. Do you like that? Okay. Okay, so I think that's it. Thank you for the commentary, the suggestions and things. I think that's great. So if I highlight a country now, I should be able to just locate them anywhere in the view. Last thing I need to do is actually clean up my tooltips. So let's see, what do I want to have here? So I have country, more axis than, oh, okay, so I need to get rid of the tooltip there, the tooltip there. And I should just be left with 2 metrics. So let me go into my tooltip and change this to say country. Maybe I'll make that like 12 point. Gender gap internet access. Gender gap mobile phone access. And let's